We have up next Alan Irvine, who is one of, everybody here knows him well, I'm sure. He's one of our regional teller, I suppose, at this point in time. He's been around quite a bit, and he's going to entertain you tonight with 3 tales in and about the rivers of the Ohio. And with that, Alan.
Waters of the Ohio, hunting and fishing are some of our favorite activities. And folks will often travel far afield to take part. So it's about this time of year, and there was actually a whole group of men out at a hunting camp in Montana. There's one fellow from western Pennsylvania, and one from Texas, one from California, New Jersey. They'd all gathered there, and they'd been going out hunting for the last 3 or 4 days. But the weather had turned kind of wet, and this day they were stuck in the lodge. And there's only so many hunting shows you can watch on cable, even if you're a dedicated hunter, and they watched as many as they could and decided to pass the time another way. So the man from California suggested, well, they're all sitting around, tell some stories about hunting. In fact, he suggested every man reach in his wallet, take out a $5 bill, put that in the table in front of them, and whoever told the biggest lie about hunting would take the pot. So everyone pulled out their $5 bill and put it in front of them. And the fellow from California started with a story about hunting in the middle of a big earthquake and managing to time his shots with the vibrations, and that was pretty good. And the fellow from Texas told a story about hunting wild boar, and they're all charging towards him and picking them all off with a single shots that went through. Like bowling with the wild pigs for the and the fellow from New Jersey talked about hunting the Jersey devil in the swamps there, and the stories went around, and finally it came to the fellow from western Pennsylvania, and he looked at them all and he just shook his head. He said, I'm sorry. I can't participate. I can't condone this at all. In western Pennsylvania, hunting is important. It's part of our heritage. It's so important. I mean, we close the schools on the first day of deer season. People take off work. The legislature shuts down. I mean, it's a sacred part of our heritage. And I cannot defile the sacred heritage of hunting by lying. In western Pennsylvania, we do not tell lies about hunting. And the other men all looked kind of shamefaced. And they looked at each other, embarrassed, and then each one picked up his $5 bill, and they all handed it to the fellow from western Pennsylvania. So, one of the fellows who does a lot of that hunting, a fellow named Jimmy Johnson, actually out near Ligonier, where my wife's family's from, and we're out there quite a bit. And the fellows do sit around talking about hunting. As you come in the early part of the fall, they're talking about getting ready for hunting. About this point, they're talking about going out in a day or two, and then they'll spend the rest of the year talking about what they did right after Thanksgiving. But Jimmy was always talking about his dog. He had this hunting dog that he had raised from a puppy, and he was always bragging how smart his dog was. And we were at one of the big local gatherings, and Jimmy was going on about his dog and started bragging about his dog. My dog is so smart, my dog can count. I mean, you're going out duck hunting, you take my dog, he can tell you exactly how many ducks are out there on the pond, how many shots you're going to need. And finally, my wife's Uncle Tom, who doesn't put up with nonsense like this at all, just kind of looked and said, "You are lying. Jimmy Johnson, you are lying about this dog, and you need to stop it right now." Because Uncle Tom loves dogs, but he just couldn't stand somebody going on about a dog like this. And no, you just stop it right there. And Jimmy said, "Tom, I'm telling you, my dog can count. saying, there ain't no such thing as a dog can count. You are just lying at you. You stop it right now or you're just getting out of here. Tom, I'm not trying to make you angry or anything, but look, you don't believe me? You can borrow my dog anytime you want and take it out and you'll see that dog can count. Well, Uncle Tom was determined to call this fellow's bluff. And so the next day he showed up at Jimmy's house to collect the dog. And Jimmy said, okay, well, down there in the valley, the big lake down there in the swamp, you go down. I saw ducks down there last night. Take my dog down, you'll see. So, off Uncle Tom went. Came back about an hour later, just storming up there, mad as could be. Banged on the door, and Jimmy answered. Said, Jimmy, I knew you was lying. I knew it. And she said, what are you talking about? What am I talking about? You say this dog can count? This dog is smart. This dog can't count. This is the stupidest darn dog I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a dog this stupid. She said, but Tom, what are you talking? Tell me what happened. All right, I'll tell you what happened. We went down there, down to the swamp there, and I knew on the other side of them big blueberry bushes there had to be some ducks. So I told that dog, go get me some ducks. And that dog went off running, disappeared behind them blueberry bushes. Came back just a couple minutes later, had a big old pine branch in his mouth. Came running right up to me and started shaking his head so hard, banged me around the ankles with that pine branch. I grabbed that branch. I ain't interested in no pine trees. Go get ducks. And that dog went off running. Come back a couple minutes later, had a big old hickory stick in his mouth. Came running right up to me, started shaking his head back and forth, banged me about the shins with that hickory stick. I took that stick away and said, I ain't interested in no hickory sticks. Dog, go get ducks. That dog went running off. Came back a couple minutes later, had a big old oak stick in his mouth, came running up to me, shaking its head, banging me in my knees, my bum knee here, just about, knocked me down, hit me so. I took that stick away and said, dog, this is a stupid dog. I'm not interested in oak trees, I'm not interested in hickory trees, not interested in pine trees, I want ducks. This dog's so stupid, can't tell the difference between a tree and a duck. And Jimmy just looked at him and said, Tom, all that dog was trying to tell you is the other side of them blueberry bushes, there were more ducks than you can shake a stick at. Well, thanks very much. So, we started the first half of the show with a story about fishing, so I guess we should start the second half off as well. And a lot of people, you start thinking, well, fishing season's done now, it's getting cold, but we're heading in towards winter, and if it gets cold enough, it's ice fishing season. And so you can go out, and every once in a while, you like to go out and just have a try at it. And a couple of years ago, we had one of those cold spells, and if you head out Raccoon Creek out in Beaver County, the big lake there, that's a great place I've gone ice skating there sometimes, and also you go out on a nice bright day and there's ice fishermen all kind of ranged around the lake, and that's where I headed out this time. And it was bright and clear, it was cold, but the sun was out, and you could see people scattered about, and I could see this one kid, probably about 13 years old, snuck out of school, and he was sitting off, and even as I was getting the stuff out of the back of my car, I could see this kid pop the fish right out. I said, all right, they're biting. It's going to be a good day. So I got my stuff, and I didn't want to get too close to them because you got to give everyone their space. So I found a bit. I cut my hole in the ice, set up my bench, set my tackle out. I had my bucket of the bait, put that down there. Real worms, not plastic ones. They like the real ones in the wintertime. And so I baited my line, and I was, dropped it in, and I was sitting and just kind of watching and enjoying the day. And after a while, I noticed that, I hadn't even had a nibble yet. And I looked over to where that kid was sitting, just kind of glanced over, and just as I did, pulled another one out. I said, okay, he knows what he's doing there. I'm going to find out. So what's going on? So I headed over there, and excuse me, I just want to ask you a question. He looked up and said, I just noticed that you're doing pretty good there. You've pulled out a whole bunch. I haven't gotten any bites at all today, and just wondering what's your secret. And the kid looked at me and said, Ugawa Kappa Wam Wam. I said, okay. And I figured, all right, he's a little slow, a little odd. That's why he's not in school or something. I'll just leave him. I don't want to bother him. So went back and tried a couple other things, some different kind of bait, dropped it in, and was sitting there, and still nothing was biting. And I looked over, and I looked back to that kid, and sure enough, just that it, he pulled another fish out. I said, okay, he may be a little odd or something, but he knows what he's doing. I got to find out. So I went back over. He interrupted. Look at him. I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but look, you got to. What's the secret? And he looked at me and he said, "Agawa kappa wam wam." I said, "Oh, okay, I get it, because I'm not from around here. I'm not local. I'm from the big city. You don't want me cutting in here. Fine. I can figure this out." So I went back and trying some other stuff, one thing after another, nothing was working. I said, okay, I'll try one more time, see if I can get him to help me out. So I went back over and interrupted him again. I said, "Please, kid, can you help me here?" And again, he looked at me and said, "Ugawa kappa wam wam." I said, "What are you talking about? Ugawa kappa wam wam, it doesn't make any sense. Look, I just want some help here. Yeah, I mean, really, it's just gibberish." And he got this look in his eye, like when you just figured out what somebody's problem is. And he held up one hand to tell me, "Just wait for a moment." And then he held up his other hand, sort of palm up, and he leaned over, and out of his mouth, he spat into his hand this big, red, wriggling mass. And then he said, "You've got to keep your worms warm."